The question came up as to whether or not the engine could be turned over by hand. And you want to explain what?
Yeah, that question is usually reserved for engines that are questionable, maybe seized. Or this is
a car in a field.
Yeah, exactly. This is the polar opposite. This engine does turn over by hand, and it was obviously rebuilt by someone who really paid attention to detail and knew Jaguars. When I was lining up the transmission, I did turn it. But prior to that, I didn't want to turn it with a dry cam, so I took a look under here, and I saw that they lubed all the lobes, or had, and so after the car was run in, the engine was properly preserved.
Right.
And just a really nice step. I think the builder, knowing that the engine wouldn't be used right away, took the proper steps to preserve it.
You characterized it as fogged before.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, the fogging oil. And it clings. I also looked when I looked into the cylinders and on the cylinder walls and the piston. I could tell that I recognized the oil.
Yep. So, and you also you were talking about what your perspective was, I guess, from the receipt on the rebuild, and also from examining the engine in terms of what was the level of quality of rebuild that this engine had?
Well, I can just tell by the fasteners and also the upgrades. They upgraded the oil rear main seal that was done properly. The oil filter housing.
So what do you mean by the oil filter housing? Like what?
There's all the common updates have been done.
Oh, okay.
So rather than just, it was someone who was familiar with this engine.
Right. Right, and we know it was a very reputable builder. Unfortunately, he's passed away, but he was a well-known, highly respected engine builder. And then, of course, if you haven't looked at it, I think the very first video on our listing is of the engine running once the rebuild was completed.
Right. Yeah. And after that was run, they sealed it, and we were the ones to unwrap it after that.
Right, it was basically shrink wrapped.
Yeah.
As of like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
something.
And the exhaust ports were plugged, and the carb intake sides were done. So it was preserved.
Properly preserved.
Yeah. No,
what do the numbers mean over here?
That's the jetting.
Yeah.
And again, just good detail. And I could tell by they left the plugs in.
Yeah.
Were running, and the combustion looks spot on.
Great. Okay, you were mentioning that one of the most important things is the rear main seal, and so what's the story on this?
Yeah, so this is right in the rope seal era, and this has the kit is from Terry's. It's a billet aluminum rear main seal up.
So they originally had a rope main seal.
Yeah.
And then this is what is the considered a
modern upgrade.
Modern upgrade, yeah. And you could, when you put it together, when you put the engine in with the transmission, it was very obvious
I saw it behind the flat wheel,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and if you haven't seen, there's pictures of the engine before it went in the car and the transmission. It gives you a pretty darn good idea in addition to what you're seeing here. So here's the distributor that was used. That's a Moss Motors. They call it the Flamethrower Pertronics.
That's right.
Flamethrower, yeah. So that's...
Okay. So it's not just a Pertronics kit, it's the whole distributor.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can see Flamethrower right there, so...
And timing was set when they ran it.
Gotcha. So it's really properly done. All around.
Oh yeah.
Look how nice it looks down here when you go with all the details, every angle you
look at every fastener too. If you notice on that.
Yeah.
Some engines, you reach for in your parts bin. These are all correct fasteners.
Yeah. With the proper washers, the copper washers and stuff like that too. I mean, they really did it right. Okay, so we wanted to just go over the engine receipt, and we'll start. Michael, you've made these red marks starting with the section on the block here.
Yeah, I made a red dot where due diligence was performed. The
Magnaflux is the first one.
Yeah, checking for cracks. Align hone the main bearing saddles, and
we go down to the crankshaft.
Yeah, they Magnaflux that, they ground it, and they did the machining for the single piece rear main seal.
Which we talked about, earlier. That upgraded seal.
Yeah.
And then we go over here to cylinder heads, and so valve job. And you just pointed out to me what they do. Evidently what they did was they had 3 options, like on the valve job: stock, street strip, competition, and you can see they've bolded the middle one, so they picked the middle choice for the valve job, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be probably a multi-angle valve job.
And then what about CC
Yeah,
heads?
yeah, that's a nice detail. They just to make sure each head volume to keep compression equal on all cylinders, they CC'd them to verify they're equal.
All right, now we go down to
The assembly, yeah, they highlighted the middle one, street strip. So that's probably their option to increase durability, smoothness, and just what might be called blueprinting. And they degreed the camshaft, which you can't always rely on the factory markings, and they verify that by degreeing it and getting.
and then break-in engine, is that when we saw in the video?
There's a video, yeah, and it's they put time. They didn't just fire it up and let it. They broke it in, and when they were done, they put it away properly too. We'll talk about that later. And
Okay, now we go over to pistons.
the pistons, it's 40 over. We talked about the rear seal. They replaced the head studs, which should always be done on these anyway. But
Okay,
obviously
see
they
that.
used good. I can tell by the price
Camshafts.
that they were good head studs.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see camshafts.
Yeah, brand new camshafts. The forward.
Petronics destroyer, we videoed that earlier. Restored the carbs, that's obvious by looking at
Yeah,
them.
they subbed that out. And
Oh, okay, okay, I see. Yeah, whoa, $2,000?
yeah, and it shows too. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I know some of these specialists, they're expensive, the good guys. And then, let's see, high torque starter motor.
Yeah. So they did all the upgrades that are, the oil filter, the rear main seal, the starter motor, things that can be.
That covers everything that you highlighted. Right?
Yeah. So it's they did put a lot of hours into this thing, and it shows.